This top 10 fantasy football running backs edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog. Get up to a $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at underdogfantasy.com. Promo code SGPN.
What's up, guys? This is Carson Steele. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
It's a baby fucking wheel, man. San Diego Superchargers.
Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money grave with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog.
Hello, Sean. This is a anticipated episode. I think we could be talking to people in the future. Maybe it's July. Maybe it's August.
These are evergreen episodes.
Specifically this one, I think people are going to want to check in on.
Why is that?
It's the episode that every year people can put on the calendar and know that they are going to get a lead pipe injury prognostication.
I do have an exact number. Queued up. Exact number.
Exact number of games.
Yes.
Oh, I like that.
So it's going to be interesting because it was real touch or go with where he was on the list. If he makes the top 10, I will spoil and say I don't see a season-ending injury for Christian McCaffrey this year. I
thought we were talking about Saquon.
That's the good news. Saquon,
I'm sorry. I thought when you got to the end, oh my goodness, he's being rational.
I have
objective.
I have a lot of good stats regarding that, Ryan.
Okay.
Don't worry. I dug in deep. You played the Carson Steele soundtrack. Shout out to our buddy Carson Steele.
The best.
Man, we were so close. There was some injury stuff, and then he was just destroying people in preseason. So close to having him really kind of own it in the NFL.
Do you remember how exciting that was?
I remember we were at the Circa for sign up weekend,
right.
and we're watching him just bowl over dudes and cash us some preseason tickets. Now, unfortunately, he kind of he played a bunch, got it. He did have a fumble that probably hurt some of his time out there. He did have.
It reminded me
56 carries, 183 yards. Shout out to our buddy Carson.
It brought me back to when the Giants drafted David Wilson in the first round out of Virginia Tech. Explosive running back, very exciting. Kickoff returns, everything. You remember the big games. Track star, and he just fumbles right away, right into the right into the Coughlin doghouse, and it's like fuck.
Yeah, that didn't help. But I still, Ryan.
Coaches are still old school. If you're a rookie running back and you fumble, it's a problem.
And I do think Andy Reid likes him. The dude plays super hard. I still think a first touchdown, possibly 2 touchdown bet. We just got to pick our spot, right? We got to pick one game and roll with it.
It's hard for me to not. I mean, if we're going to be spotlighting first touchdowns in the team preview series,
Carson Steele could be getting.
How are we not bringing up Carson Steele?
He is listed as a fullback officially, which is just awesome.
That makes it better because fullbacks and backup tight ends.
And the Chiefs don't do, ever since Patrick Mahomes tweaked his leg on that one quarterback sneak, he doesn't get. They don't do quarterback sneaks with Patrick Mahomes anymore. They do the I think it's Noah Gray who comes in for the little QB sneak type thing. But I Carson Steele is getting into the end zone. He didn't make my top 10 list, Ryan. Just off, but I still love him, and it's gonna be an awesome season for Carson Steele. But Ryan, this is an evergreen episode, top 10 running backs. But
real quick, just so you know, Robert Tonyan is on the Chiefs right now.
That was on my radar.
Okay.
And he is Jared Wiley. It does have a Q tag on his name right now, but Tonyan is the 4th string quarterback.
But to your point, Carson Steele getting out of the running back room and into the fullback room,
I think is the best thing that ever.
Spot. Yeah.
Well, yes, ensures his roster spot and could be the best thing that happened for him.
Yeah.
Kramer, we have to, before we start breaking down our top 10 fantasy football running backs.
Yeah.
And of course, go back and check out all the episodes we've done, the quarterbacks, the receivers, the tight ends. And then after this episode, we are essentially kind of going on vacation because we have a bunch of pre-taped college football conference previews ready to go that we're going to unleash on the world. We do have our live show from the circa July 3rd, aka 4th of July Eve.
You can check in with us live on
Thursday
the
night show.
But we will, you'll hear ACC or Big 12 ACC this week, and then Mountain West and the other baby conferences following that.
Kramer, you have to let people know. Maybe people realize that you and our buddy Bowser are virtual horse owners.
Yeah, digital horsemen. You've been doing the show Run for the Roses. You can get it on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/sportsgambling podcast, walking people through the ownership process. Doing It's
some
really
live races.
It's also just turned into a show where like if you want to live vicariously through us.
Yes.
So,
but big win on Saturday. Walk people through what happened.
Yeah, the nature of the game. A year is a month. They call them seasons. So every season there is a Kentucky Derby.
Okay.
You'll remember we started the show live from Vegas at the Wynn for the season 27
kickoff
Kentucky Derby. So this is season. Now we're in season 29. The Kentucky Derby runs on Saturday. I had mentioned on the show in passing we had qualified a horse. We did not have a ton of optimism about the horse before it started racing. Raced really well, qualifies for the Derby. Bad weather roll. It's going to be a muddy track, right? Just like in real life, sometimes the firm runners don't like the slop. So when we get
wait, what's the name of the horse?
He's Ready to Gig. Again, it was an AI name. That's how we felt. That's how much we felt about the.
Not even giving it a personal name.
It was kind of I don't want to call it a throwaway breed, but it was like an experimental thing that we didn't have too much expectation for. And so the fucking horse starts winning us some money, qualifies for the Derby, and like I said, we find out the weather on the track's going to be sloppy. This is not great. But when the race starts, and we're doing the live stream, when the race starts, and by the way, this is real digital horsemen stuff. And if you could have bet on this, anyone could have. This is like your 200K lineup. You could have bet on this. We were like a 20-1 dog. So we get to the race, and the second it cuts to the screen, we see that it's sunny. Now there's like two randomizations of the races. There's what the track's going to be like. The track is sloppy, puddles all over the place. It had been raining, but the rain stopped and the sun was breaking through. Is that good? Well, it just felt like this, whatever the opposite of ominous is. It felt like this. Okay, this is possibly going to happen. The race starts, and then we have shout out to Noah, who was watching live, who had just watched Touchdown Jesus, which he was very excited about. Win and so the race starts. We're in great position. I'll bring up
we're coming down the back stretch.
Oh, this is great.
And then here's a little bit of the hour run for the Roses.
We
Fight.
are in the fucking lead of the Kentucky
Fight.
Coming down the back stretch.
We're in first right now.
Let's go, my guy.
Fight
on, do your best. Come on,
fight.
Come on, don't give it up. Don't give it up. Keep fighting.
Fight.
Fighting. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Oh my God.
Shit, let's go. You can see
Look at Bowser, so happy.
Oh my fucking God. We fucking won the Kentucky fucking Derby.
So
huge day for SGPN Stables, right? Congratulations.
My God. Pretty wild. So again, we were around 20-1. If you had bet on us, again, you don't have to do anything in the game. You can sign up, use the code SGPN for a stable, and all you have to do is sign up for that stable, deposit some coin. It's crypto, but you can use a fucking credit card.
Ooh.
You can use everything. So, and then you just bet like it's normal. Now, had you bet 20-1 for us to win the race, you would have had, plus 2,000, Sean.
Yes, that is a huge win.
So we had a nice little stack on ourselves.
Yeah,
of course.
Got to bet on yourself.
But on top of that, the prize pool in the race is 10 G's, 10 G's American. We won 43% of that, so about $4,300.
Oh man.
If you add in the winnings in the bets, cleared north of $5,000. It was a pivotal moment in the household where now the wife is like, okay,
all right, this is real.
This is not some bullshit you've been wasting your time on for the past. And now the next move is deciding, do we retire it so it can have sex with other horses for money and make us a shitload of money? This is one of the
guys who will get penetration.
Well, one of the crazier events. I was saying this to Bowser on the show, but I obviously I gamble a lot.
Yeah.
Not someone who has. I have some relatively high stakes experience, table games, fantasy, betting, like pools,
well,
whatever.
It's a little different because it's actually something you digitally created.
That's part of it. We created the mom and the dad. And so we own the mom and dad. We can start making brothers and sisters of a Kentucky Derby winner. But it's there are times, I'm sure this happened to you with your, even though you didn't win with the 200K score, where there is such a low probability in your mind of the outcome of the edge outcome actually occurring, that it's just like, oh my God, like that, like oh my God,
oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. So, and it looked like a wire to wire win.
Dominant performance. There were people in the chat comparing it to Secretariat. It truly was. As someone who watches once I know a horse is good or at least competitive, I'm watching most of the races. I feel like you can learn something in there. And I've watched every one of that horse's races. I've never seen it like curb stomp other horses like that. And
it's a big game. It's a big game horse.
These are the best horses in the game too. So yeah, awesome time to be a member of SGPN Stables. And I have a feeling it will be good for the show. Winning the Derby live on stream, probably the nuts.
How could it not? And of course, check out Photo Finish Live. SGPN's a promo code, and check out follow along with Chief Horseman Scott Bowser, Ryan Real Money Kramer, the antics, the highs. I see
some
of
the regulars in the chat.
Yeah, no, it's certainly super fun. I gotta end up getting a pony here, Kramer, sooner rather than later.
Getting ready to enter the fray.
Yeah, I think maybe one of these days I'm gonna hop in.
We'll get you a couple horses that you can start keeping an eye. I'll spotlight a couple.
All right,
Sean's spotlight.
Hey, speaking of winning big, you got a chance to win a ton of cash in the Circa Million, Circa Survivor. That's right, $21 million up for grabs. Come hang out with us. Sign up weekend over at Circa, August 21st to the 23rd. Use a promo code SGP15 if you want to come out and hang out with us, and that's good anytime. We're also going to be out there July 3rd. If you're out there for the holiday weekend, come say what's up. We're doing our live Easton show July 3rd, but Circa Million, Circa Survivor up for grabs. 6 million guaranteed in Circa Million. Of course, picking 5 teams against the spread. Circa Survivor, 15 million. Grandissimo with the $100,000 entry fee. And of course, get started. Sign up in Vegas. You can play from anywhere. I saw Australian listener was asking about the proxy thing, and yeah, people in Australia compete in Circa Survivor, Circa Million. Very easy. Sign up in Vegas. Play from anywhere. You got no excuse not to get in on it. And we got a nice deal going. Footballcontest.com promo code SGP gets you $50 off your proxy fees. Footballcontest.com promo code SGP gets you $50 off your proxy fees. And of course, also brought to you by mybookie.ag, your place to bet on every sport, including little NFL futures. We're going to be talking some fantasy football here, but of course, get down on some of these running back player props. Ryan, NFL team previews right around the corner. MLB Gambling Podcast, they have been on a heater. Check those guys out and take some of their plays or play your own. MyBookie.ag promo code SGPN, 100% match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions do apply. MyBookie.ag promo code SGPN.
Also, unrelated to everything you just said.
Yes.
Give a shout out to the WNBA Gambling Podcast. Currently my favorite show on the network.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
number one over TCE team previews.
Really?
Yeah.
Why have you been enjoying the WNBA so much, Red?
Scott and Terrell.
Yeah, great chemistry.
I
shout
don't
out-
even listen for the picks.
Well, and shout out to Scott and our buddy Adam Rosenberg, the MLB show. They also do 2 bonus prop episodes. Those are really fun as well. Again, daily content. If you didn't realize, you can subscribe to the SGPN podcast feed and get every single episode that we release wherever you get your podcast. Toss us 5 stars, rating, review over there. But the SGPN network feed is great. Just you're never going to miss anything.
Also great as a little tip jar. Hit the play button, get us some extra listens.
Come on, you know how to take down corporate gambling. You don't think these corporate gambling guys are padding their numbers? Get in there.
Yeah, you just
rack up some stats.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Virtual tip jar.
Oh, and Ryan, great news. Easy is going to be out there for the contest sign up weekend,
really,
which is awesome. So Easy. I know you're a guy who loves ball. He's in the high stakes fantasy stuff, and also very sharp. I feel like he did a good job, Ryan, especially in the INT market on the defensive props. We have a lot of sharp listeners. Always appreciate the plays, the chatter in the chat.
Oh, so what table game will we be gambling with Easy?
I could see Easy throwing down a craps
some
machine.
Dice?
Yeah, 100%.
Table, not a machine.
And the
I don't want someone to come at us.
Yeah, that's true. We're not playing pops.
Not
craps.
playing bubbles craps.
Bubble craps. Come on. And the contest weekend is a very good weekend to come out. Not only we're going to be doing our shows out there, VSiN show, Radio Row shows, but they also have like a couple open bar parties that are really fun. Derrick will be in rare form, so it's a good weekend to come out. 100%.
He is,
and it's college football week 0 that it worked out. So.
And if you're any sort of I mean, everyone from the Circa and VSiN are very available.
Yeah,
for those couple of days.
Come by, say
run
what's
into
up.
a lot of people,
and of course, firm handshake from Kramer. Kramer, top 10 fantasy football running backs for 2025. Who is your number 1 fantasy football running back?
Isn't firm handshake just assumed? This is tricky. I was actually a little surprised after going through some of the numbers for a couple reasons. One, I was pretty shocked at how I did not remember Jahmyr Gibbs to be what he was, which was the overall number 1 PPR running back, which almost seems impossible in a year where Barkley and Derrick Henry
yards
had insane seasons. I was also blown away by the consistency of Bijan, 10 games of 20 points or more. Not as many. Really, the difference between Bijan and Barkley and Gibbs from a fantasy perspective were just like basically a massive game. And so that was a little surprising as a little bit of Bijan hater.
If you look, I don't know what it is. Just Bijan's never excited me as a fantasy player, as a better, as a just whatever. I should give him some props, and I will at some point in this episode. But just going back to Barkley, could you imagine if Barkley wasn't on, say hypothetically, he was on some other team as he was before his time on the Eagles? Could you imagine what his fantasy season would have been if Hurts didn't also have all those rushing touchdowns? Like, let's just say Jalen Hurts had a reasonable amount of rushing touchdowns, like 3 or 4. And all those other ones went to Barkley. That might have been the greatest fantasy performance of all time.
You could look at it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're assuming the distribution of Hurts not scoring those touchdowns is 100% to Barkley.
No, but I just said, give like 8 of those touchdowns. He had 14 rushing touchdowns.
Sure. Okay. I mean, he would have had an incredible year. Now, I would the final point I was going to make is that I've created this like new metric. Still don't have a cool name for it, but I was shocked to see that Barkley actually would have shown up not as being flagged as like watch out, but he had more dud games than I remember. And that's really what separated Barkley from Gibbs, Robinson, and Henry in hindsight was he had more dud games. And what was shocking about Bijan and Gibbs is they had no dud games. And so that and Henry only had one.
When you're coming up with your list, what jumped out at you?
Well, running backs, you all more so than other positions, you can't ignore the workload from the year before. So you have to bring, what I recommend is you just bring up the stats. So if we look at the 2024 rushing leaders, and you just focus on even just carries, when you get to the top of that board, you have to be very cautious there. And I'll even throw Bijan in here because he went north of 300 carries. I think anytime the workload ends up like that, and you have to be cognizant. And so what I did here, it shocked me too, because I haven't exactly been I haven't been drafting running backs early at all. I don't think I like any of the early running backs, but I'm going to make Jahmyr Gibbs the number one here. And the more that I broke down, what is this offense going to look like after the coordinators move on, it does seem like Gibbs in the passing game is potentially going to be something even more utilized. So when I look at last year and I look at the incredibly high floor, I look at the incredibly high ceiling, being able to put up a what was his big game last year? 46 points in the last week of the season. Having both of those components with an offense that I think comes with a decent floor, and I'm not as we talked about Laporta. I wasn't super high on the idea of Laporta jumping forward. I'm not super high on the idea of JMO jumping forward. I do think it's going to be heavily concentrated on Amon-Ra on Gibbs. So Gibbs is my number one guy.
Yeah, Gibbs is he's in my top 5, Ryan, but he is not number 1.
I understand why. Like there's the worry about him not getting all the touchdowns, but that's when I saw last year, and even in the games where Montgomery was playing, he's still able to give you a decent floor. That was the difference for me.
Ryan.
Yeah, I'm listening.
LaDainian Tomlinson, Arian Foster, Edgerrin James. What do they all have in common?
They were really good running backs who fell off a cliff at the end of their career.
They all had seasons in which they had 430 plus touches, and their yards per carry improved the following year. LaDainian Tomlinson, 451 touches in 2002. His yards per carry went up from 4.5 to 5.3. 2012, Arian Foster, 460 touches. Yards per carry went up from 4.1 to 4.5. 2003, Edgerrin James, 431 touches, 4.1, all the way up to 4.6 yards per carry.
Okay. Do you want to do this? You're not including the playoffs.
No, I am going to. Everyone accuses me of being a homer, so have fun. Saquon Barkley is my number 2 fantasy football running back. Yes. Ryan, do you know who my number 1 is?
I have to so it's either going to, I think the top 4 tier is relatively.
This is a shocking.
Yeah. I think I don't want to ruin your surprise.
So this
Can I guess though?
Sure.
Devon Achane.
No, but he stick around.
Okay.
My number 1, probably a bit of a surprise, and even a bit of a surprise to me. I've made this guy number 1 fantasy football running back before. He's a guy I realize in best ball I have to be drafting more of. And I'm blanking on his name. A guy was DMing me about how this guy could lead the league in fantasy football running back stats. We should be getting more of them. And I agreed. And then I did a little deep dive on the numbers. Give me Jonathan Taylor, number 1 fantasy football running back, because, well, let's just look at the situation. He averaged 102.2 yards per game. Didn't get any of the playoff miles. He would have. He averaged the same amount of attempts as Saquon Barkley. The thing was, he missed 4 games, so he didn't get that crazy amount of touches. Now he's coming back, and guys like Barkley, who I'm not predicting will get injured. I still think he has a very good year. Great offensive line, really good offense. I think the Eagles do pass a little bit more. So that maybe hurts Barkley. Maybe we get a couple more receiving touchdowns. He is competing with Jalen Hurts for those rushing touchdowns near the goal line. And Jonathan Taylor, I know what you're thinking. Oh, hey, you have a running quarterback like Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. Usually those aren't great for fantasy running backs, but look at Jonathan Taylor last year, man. His points per game, his yards per game were still very good. And he's I think I don't
think they hurt. I think they can be helpful.
Yeah, I guess it depends, because guys like Daniel Jones, maybe he does steal away some of the rushing touchdowns, but Daniel Jones also was the quarterback when Saquon Barkley had very good fantasy football year. So I think Jonathan Taylor, maybe I'm getting a little too cute here, but he is the team's best offensive weapon in a dome, in a situation where I think they could be playing some rough defenses and put up some points. So give me Jonathan Taylor, number 1 fantasy football running back. And maybe you don't remember, even in 13 games started, I forget what the exact, he had 303 attempts, 1,431 yards, 11 touchdowns. And, I think he's just a very good back that could have one more workhorse season. If he plays a full 17 games, I think he's going to be pushing 1,800 yards.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the concern would be very simply touchdowns. If the team is,
but also too, their offense was pretty bad last year and he still got in there 11 times, rushing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that for Taylor, it's the age, the work, the previous workloads, the fact that he was on that conference call.
I don't think he's that old. He's going into year 6.
That's pretty old for a running back. What you'd be looking for is the 2021 year where he finished first overall. So
that was the only year he played 17 games or a full season.
And he wasn't that. Yeah, I mean, his efficiency was insane that year. He ran for 5.5 yards a carry,
but he averaged 106.5 yards per game, and he's coming off another year where he had 102.2. So I don't know. I think he's close to having just an insane year and kind of under the radar. And me putting him number 1, part of it is just I want to
spicy.
No, I want to remind myself to draft more Jonathan Taylor because I don't have enough of him going into the best ball season, and I'm in on it.
All right, number 2. You had Barkley,
yes.
Which, by the way,
and Barkley still should have a very awesome year. Right, I'm not predicting a major injury. I just think it's tough to hit your career year.
How many? Do you know how many players in the history of the NFL have had more touches than Barkley had last year?
Yep. And I went through them and I highlighted the 3 of the entire list that went up.
No, you did not, because you did not include the playoffs. His total touches.
No, this is who had 430 or more touches in a single season. I'm pretty sure this includes,
he had 482.
Oh yeah. 482.
Touches.
So Eddie George in 2000 and 488 and DeMarco Murray at 497.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eddie George, like you mentioned,
he went down from 3.7 to 3.
I'm not focused on yards per carry. I'm going to focus on that Eddie George in the 2001 season is the only player, and we're going to talk about some other guys who were close to this, who did not miss a game. But as you mentioned, he went from 3.7 yards per carry down to 3.0. Only guy who didn't miss a game. DeMarco Murray, well, he went from 497 touches, the all-time record, to the following year. He missed the game. They missed the playoffs. He dropped to 3.6 yards per carry, much less effective. Let's go the other way.
Oh wait, DeMarco Murray was and that was 2015, right?
Yes.
Well, he went to Chip Kelly's offense, and that was a horrible situation.
Larry Johnson, 475, so a little under what Barkley ended up with in 2006. Following year, 2007, missed 8 games, down to 3.5 yards a carry. If you want to keep that going, the Edgerrin James year that you mentioned, where he maintained a 4.4 yard per carry. In 2000, 474 touches. In 2001, he missed 10 games. So I think the workload, it's less about, and yes, your efficiency matters, but most likely the narrative is the workload leads to just not being the same player from a volume standpoint. Maybe it's injury, maybe it's inefficiency, but also Barkley is not a guy who plays well through nagging injuries. Barkley is not a guy in his career. He has not played well
with the Giants
in general, playing through injuries. And so when you combine the fact
that he's nicked up this
almost
year,
certainly he didn't have an off season. So you have the Super Bowl hangover as well. I think the likelihood that he plays the entire season is incredibly low. I think you're very reckless in putting him in your top 10 rankings. And I think in general, you're stepping outside of the normal quality content creator that you are here at the Sports Gambling Podcast.
No, because I keep it real. Saquon Barkley is a staple. Is a genetic freak.
This is a staple, and some are going to say this could be race related. Going after Christian McCaffrey and not Saquon Barkley. What's that?
I never went after him. I just
suddenly the model changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That for athletic freaks like Saquon Barkley, you'd be crazy not to change your model after witnessing history. So Ryan, Saquon Barkley's not in your top 10.
Not my number 2. I just
is he in your top 10?
He's not my number 2.
Answer me that question.
He's not my number 2.
Answer.
I think it is incredibly unlikely that he plays the entire season, which makes it incredibly unlikely that I would draft someone just like Christian McCaffrey in the past with that kind of draft equity at ADP. What's his ADP?
But what do you
top 3?
What's his number?
What's the number on?
You gonna leave him off entirely?
Maybe I'll put him on the bubble. We'll see how the conversation goes.
I'm gonna send this to him. Who's your number 2 then?
Don't send it to him. He's very sensitive.
He reads
to
his
people
mentions.
talking shit.
It's gonna fire him up.
Number 2. All right. Now this is the second part of my donkey ranking. So I made the number 1 guy, number 1 guy from last year, number 1 guy. Now I am gonna completely stray from everything I've done in the past because the numbers have told me to do so. I think Bijan Robinson could have an enormous year. Everything you said about Jonathan Taylor, completely agree with. Bijan Robinson's an even more on crack version of that.
Yeah,
he's younger. He's playing on the speedy turf.
How much do you have of Bijan Robinson?
Not enough.
Yeah, I feel like you haven't been drafting him much.
But I don't like these early rankings are also kind of fugazi because I don't really like any of the running backs over the receivers early. Do you? And you kind of have to take them this year. You're seeing these running backs go a little early. So unfortunately, Bijan's my number 2 guy. I think it's very unlikely I get either of my top 2 guys because I'm taking a receiver in the first round. Period.
Yeah. So for me,
do you want me to go to number 3 or do you want to go?
Oh, I can do number 3.
Right.
I am going Devon Achane.
Yeah, me
in
too.
Number 3. And I mean, I didn't realize before I did the numbers dive, like how many catches he had. Now, a lot of that is tied to Tua being in the game, but 78 catches, 6 receiving touchdowns last year, 6 rushing touchdowns.
Offensive player of the year ticket loading.
Yeah. I don't have one. I mean, I'm going to have a long shot one on Jalen Waddle.
Why are we so high on this stupid Dolphins offense? It doesn't make any sense.
I think, and yeah, it's one of those things too, where
their defense is going to suck also.
Yeah. That's the other thing. So
they're a shootout.
Like off the top of my head, if you ask me how many catches Devon Achane had last year, and again, these are full point PPR rankings, I would have said like 40. He had 78 catches, Ryan, 592 receiving yards, and they got rid of Raheem Mostert. And yeah, I mean,
Jalen Wright is there. I mean, that they're going to have other guys, of course, but it seems like more than any other year we've been talking about this offense and this team that this is a bell cow.
But yeah, and Jalen Wright, maybe he's like a long shot, like round 18 dart throw, or even you could talk yourself into Ollie Gordon, and you could make a case for him as like a long shot dart throw.
I think they're both going to be involved,
but in best ball. But I think they got rid of Mostert because I think Achane's gonna get a nice juicy workload. So I'm in on Devon Achane, and he's just a fun guy to watch. Like super explosive. His hit, and you know, even in 2023, his yards per attempt were noticeably higher. It was a lot of like big play stuff. I think he can get back to some of that here in year 3. So yeah, give me Devon Achane.
The issue with him is he did have some dud games, like same kind of thing. But man, he has just as much ceiling potential as any of these guys. That's what made me do that. I don't know. I'm strangely like I'm gonna have all these pro Dolphins offensive takes.
Well, and easy is laying out my case. Is Achane's gonna be Quinn Ewers' dump down guy when he wins offensive rookie of the year?
If you're asking me to make the like who of the top running backs could be like averaging 6 catches a game. I don't know what that offense is. Jonnu Smith and Devon Achane once Tyreek Hill goes crazy.
Yeah, we are. I feel like we have to be out on some of the some of
No,
the
we
Dolphins.
like. Well, I think the best path for us is Tyreek Hill, like exits himself from the situation, and then Waddle, Jonas Smith, and Achane can eat freely.
All right, for me, number 4, Ryan. You made him your number 1. I wasn't quite as high, but yeah, give me Jahmyr Gibbs. What's not to like about Jahmyr Gibbs in this offense? Certainly some concern without the talented Ben Johnson. David Montgomery is always lurking there to steal some rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he is.
I mean, I want to be careful because I'm not. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is super explosive. Going back to stuff I was wrong about, I was very critical of them when they drafted him. Like, what are you doing drafting this guy in the first round? He has been a very nice addition to their offense. 16 touchdowns, 412 yards on the ground. Pretty involved in the passing game. Back-to-back years, 52 catches. He had 4 receiving touchdowns. I don't know if that's as consistent, but he can probably make it up on the ground still. 16 rushing touchdowns is tough to match. I think he's going to have a good year. He's not top 3 for me.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that shocked me as I analyzed the David Montgomery Jamir, like what led me to leave Gibbs number 1.
Yeah.
Is whenever Montgomery was not in there, those especially end of the game or anytime Montgomery had down games, Gibbs ate.
Yeah.
But bottom line, you didn't have to worry about it. There's like 20 minimum 25
but also too,
points.
David Montgomery did have 12 rushing touchdowns.
Well, and wait for it. So here are David Montgomery's best games last year. 24.5 points week 11. Jahmyr Gibbs scored 19.3 that day. Next, you had a 21.2 effort week 3. Gibbs still put up 16.3. 21 week 6. This is the only time he had a even close to a dud game when Montgomery did well, 12.1. And then when Montgomery had 19.4 points week 14, Gibbs had 19.3. The point is that Gibbs mostly outscores Montgomery, even when Montgomery has good games. Yeah. I mean, there are games where Montgomery scored 16 points, Gibbs scores 25 points. So it didn't seem to matter. That is what led me at the end of the day to put Gibbs number 1, because even with Montgomery in the way, he was still more than serviceable, and the ceiling still pops to these games where it's like, no, Montgomery has an 8-point game, Gibbs has a 32.
No, to your point too, Ryan, if you're to make Gibbs number 1, all you have to do is give some of those David Montgomery touchdowns or some of that production, which is clearly there for the running back.
I'm projecting more catches
to Jahmyr Gibbs. Like if Montgomery gets hurt a little bit, or if he doesn't play as much or whatever, maybe Ben Johnson was the one that liked him.
Trailing a little bit more. There's a number of reasons, yeah. Right? And where do you think Montgomery finished last year? If you had to guess, overall scoring fantasy points.
Montgomery,
yeah,
16th.
Yeah, he was 19th. He was still a top 20 guy. Yeah. Gibbs still finished number 1. So how much higher do you think Montgomery? Where is Montgomery's ceiling? And could this team, could they both finish as a top 12 running back?
It's interesting. The Lions.
I just think Gibbs' floor is so
and
high.
Our good buddy, the man in the box, CJ Sullivan, pointing out in the chat that they lost Ragnow and Zeller both on the offensive line. That is concerning. I mean, Jared Goff is a guy who doesn't do well under pressure.
Ragnow, from what I understand, they knew was coming. Well, I mean, it's certainly going to hurt.
They had drafted a guy, but they still thought they were going to have him this year.
Did they? I don't know if that's the case. I think I think they knew before the draft. So, but yeah, I think Gibbs is a tough guy to leave out of the situation. All right, so that was your number 4.
Yes,
my number 4 is Derrick Henry.
Dog.
I did whatever. The number, even last year too. You're like, oh, he's old. He still just showed up every. I mean, he had his worst week was week 15, 6.7 points. It was the only game he had less than 10 points. He was one of. So there were 4 guys in the league that had 8 or more 20-point games last year. He was one of them. He still showed you that he can go nuts and have a big game. I mean, he had multiple 30. He had 3 games over 30 points, Sean. So
no, Derrick Henry's my number 5. he had second highest career rushing yards, second, and now he had a 17 touchdown game, but he had 16, tying second most in the season for him. And this is going, after 9 years of tons and tons of carries.
So
and this he's the classic guy. Every year it's like, oh, he can't do this. He's gonna hit the wall. He's gonna hit the wall. Some guys like Saquon, there's an exception to every rule. Derrick Henry is clearly that exception, right?
I mean, again, I don't think you have any evidence of Barkley being able to go big workload and then be clean.
It's a new team, new training staff, new medical
Henry,
staff.
I agree. He certainly had that 2021 season. Hard to look past that, but even in that year too, he scored 10 touchdowns. He has scored 10 touchdowns every season since 2018.
It's insane.
And
even to your point, even when he missed half of 2021, he's still got 8 touchdowns.
He only had 344 touches too, which for a guy that you think of extreme volume.
Well, and the other thing too,
doesn't have the catches
for a mobile quarterback. Lamar Jackson, whatever reason, they don't use him inside the 10 much. So that's he's going to get the goal line inside the 5. It's just going to be all Derrick Henry.
And I think in some ways you got to include the first touchdown pricing and the handicap of these fantasy markets, because I would say Henry's the most obvious running back going to get the ball inside the 3.
Yeah.
Right. There's no one else, especially with, like you said, Lamar doesn't want to deal with it. And so they just give it to Henry.
He did have 2 receiving touchdowns, which that's tough to replicate.
Well, I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
He had 16 rushing.
I could just put together a highlight reel of fantasy guys going, you are not going to have that many touches and still be productive the following year. And Derrick Henry just shoves it down their throat.
Well, they also said he was mentally cooked a couple of years ago. So
really, I missed that.
We were even kind of taught like that he would take in too many hits, like boxer. Yeah. So
I don't remember, Ryan. Derrick Henry might listen to the show. I've never doubted you, Derrick Henry. Maybe.
What do you mean? We wondered. He had a couple before he got to the Ravens. There was some time with Tennessee there where it was
I don't know, Ryan. I'm not recalling that.
Well, the offensive line was pretty bad, so there was some time where he wasn't getting that downhill going, and he looked like he might have been washed. And then he went to Baltimore, and he's not washed.
Is it crazy to realize that last year was his career high in yards per attempt? 5.9.
It was. I mean, and that's
in that offense. That's crazy.
But that's why.
And then going back to it, I know I had mentioned how some people the thought is that rushing quarterbacks or quarterbacks that rushing quarterbacks can kind of hurt.
I would argue
fantasy running backs in some ways. I get the case of like a guy like Lamar Jackson isn't going to check down to Derrick Henry. So you lose those PPR check down points with the mobile quarterbacks. But if you're doing the read option stuff, like Jalen Hurts did so well, some of those lanes that Saquon Barkley had wide open is because people are playing the run or have to play the run to some degree. And that certainly applies as well here for Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. The fact that you have to be aware of Lamar as a runner creates easier opportunities for Derrick Henry against those linebackers. So Derrick Henry probably a guy I don't have enough of. And this top 5 is tough. Pero, who's your 5?
Well, can I read you a quote?
Sure.
Big fella looks fresher than 10 years ago when we crossed paths.
Who's that?
One of the positional coaches, I guess, was with, or maybe it was just someone visiting camp, but it was a quote that came across the aggregator network that got me excited about Derrick Henry. He's not saying he feels fresher. This guy was saying he looks fresher.
And Ryan, I feel like you've mentioned it every episode except this one.
What?
No, the Adam Sandler. Adam Sandler told him if you get 2,000 yards, you're going to be in the movie. Right? Wasn't that the deal?
So Adam Sandler, Dan Patrick, and Derrick Henry walk into a bar. So yeah, there was a little 3-way going on, and Dan Patrick was talking to Derrick Henry about the movie, and Derrick Henry said, "I love Adam Sandler." So then Derrick Henry and Adam Sandler, or Dan Patrick and Adam Sandler, cooked up this idea that Adam Sandler's so generous, gives out roles in movies like nothing, and he's going to make poor old Derrick Henry have to rush for 2,000 yards to get that role in the movie. Derrick Henry seemed starstruck getting a video from Adam Sandler.
It is funny that Derrick Henry is a huge Adam Sandler fan. I wouldn't imagine that. That's Derrick's. I guess it's just.
Dude, kids don't know Adam Sandler for his movies. They know Adam Sandler for his wardrobe.
It's baggy clothes.
The baggy like 90s style basketball shorts are called Sandler shorts. My oldest daughter just thrifted a pair. She's like, "You like my new Sandler shorts?"
Nice use of thrifted as a verb, Ryan.
Well, I got two daughters. That's an activity that happens on a lot of weekends.
We're going thrifting, Dad.
Well, once the older one started driving, now that they can do
unlimited thrifting,
freestyle thrifting. The best is when they come back with some horrible deal, and the wife just, like a lioness smacking a cub around. Like you paid what?
Can you get a horrible deal thrifting?
We live in Los Angeles.
That's true.
We have thrift shops that are like, oh wow, $20 for a t-shirt. Like, get the fuck out of here. Someone threw that on the side of the road.
All right, Ryan,
what number are we on?
You're on number 5. So get into it. What do you got?
All right. Next up. Well, you already talked about him at length. I think Jonathan Taylor is a like you said. I wouldn't go as far to say I think that he has the ceiling that you think he has, but how is the offense not going to run through? I know that a lot of people think Tyler Warren, but once the world finds out that he's got small hands and can't catch the ball,
I do like your pro Jonathan Taylor. Still managed to shit on Tyler Warren.
Well, pro Jonathan Taylor is anti Tyler Warren. I also think team leader. I also think clear goal line threat. Anthony. So I read. It seems like they may be scared. Like they are aware that both of their quarterbacks have serious reasons why they may not be the best in short yardage situation because of what it takes and where the contact. So there was essentially some comments made by the offensive coordinator out there in Indy stating that we'll see how much, but the question was, how much you're going to use Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones in the running game or in the red zone. The answer was, we'll see. And I then went on to the Reddit threads, and fans are speculating that they're scared because they know Anthony Richardson's soft and Daniel Jones has a neck injury. So
I mean,
the ceiling on if Jonathan Taylor works out like you think he works out, it's because he scores 20 touchdowns. And I just don't know if the offense is going to be that good, so I'll put him down here. But I think if you're asking me to make a list of guys who get 300 carries this year, it's hard to not put Jonathan Taylor on the list.
Yeah, and
he's sneaky good in the passing game.
Well, and it does look like Daniel Jones as of whatever the June 28th.
Not so fast. Anthony Richardson will be competing.
Is that good or bad for Anthony Richardson?
He's back for a training camp to compete.
If Anthony Richardson doesn't play, and if Dan Jones is maybe a little bit more conservative, Ryan, in 11 games, Anthony Richardson, a lot of these games, Jonathan Taylor was out there, 86 carries, 6 touchdowns. So if that rushing availability become like if they try and keep Jones in the pocket a little bit more, if Daniel Jones is the starter, I don't think he's rushing 8 times a game. I don't.
I think some of the reason they signed him is to do that. I just wonder how, when they get to the red zone, if they are willing to run those quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the idea that Jonathan Taylor will be in the mix to lead the league in rushing touchdowns. So I had to put him in here.
Number 6 for me, Bijan Robinson. I mean, what's not to like? 1,456 yards, 14 touchdowns, 61 catches in the receiving game. I'm I kind of like Michael Penix. Now, do I like the team? That's kind of a different story. And yeah, I don't. Whatever it is, I'm skeptical on Bijan. I think my skepticism has been he came in with just so much hype. I feel like the fantasy community made him a first round pick.
He's
in his first year, but he had. But the thing is, like, he had an awesome year too. He had like a good rookie season, but like it wasn't fantasy world. 214 carries, 976 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per attempt, 58 catches. That's a really good rookie fantasy season. But now some of this is like, I feel like people were drafting him in the first round, maybe by the time we got close to the beginning of the season. So maybe that's where my like stay away from Bijan was. And it probably hurt me last year because he had a very good year offensively, and it's hard not to project him to have another good one this year.
Yes. I think the problem is he got, I realized I did this with Drake London too. He was getting pulled into the Kyle Pitts black hole where you just want to make fun of Falcons because of Kyle Pitts. And then I also think for me, I'm a little worried about Penix, but again, looking at my new metric, Bijan was number 1 last year. Looking at how like he had 0 bad games. He's not going to ever kill you. I think that matters when you're drafting the guy in the first round. And yeah, I think, it's reasonable to think they should be better on offense than last year with Penix in year 2. Even if I don't think the ceiling's super high, they have to get better, right?
I'm always skeptical of saying something they have to get better, that narrative, but
again, you're getting trapped with the Falcons because we once said that about Mariota.
I never said that. I was making fun of people.
I know, but I'm just saying Penix year 1 to year 2 has to get a little better. We didn't see.
I think so.
Yeah.
I saw some flashes and I saw some potential. And again, he is a left-handed quarterback, which is tough to evaluate. Rare.
High ceiling, the good plays were really good with Penix. Some of the bad plays were really bad. Next up.
Well, Ryan, before we do, Underdog Fantasy, shout out to the Underdog Fantasy app, the dog app. Of course, you could win $1 million. You could win $2 million, $2 million to first place, just drafting a fantasy football team. And it's the best way to draft. You just draft, none of the other, the waiver wire, all that, the trades that people hate. I'm not talking to you at Thanksgiving. Ryan, remember when the guy, it popped up on social media again, the guy offered Tony Pollard to trade for Christian McCaffrey, but the guy also got to sleep with the guy's wife. Like,
I do remember that.
As entertaining as that trade, that's probably the only interesting fantasy football trade. For the most part, it's annoying and it's not as fun as best ball. You draft the team, you set it, you forget it. Your best players are started every week. It's awesome way to play fantasy football, and $2 million to first, $1 million to second, and of course use our promo code SGPN. Underdog Fantasy, a deposit match up to $1,000 in bonus cash, and of course the pick'em. Great way to get in. Available in a ton of states and the great state of Canada as well. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Shout out to Rhythm. It's just an awesome tool, awesome way to come up with the great props, sides, totals. They crushed it in the FCS college football season. They've been doing very well for the MLB props. And let's see. Let's see if there's any. I just clicked the Power Trends tab, and they're loading up some. Let's see what Rhythm likes. Also, Rhythm, great way to dominate over on Underdog. While you're here. Little MLB, Trevor Rogers over 4.5 strikeouts at +102. Rhythm predicts 6.9 strikeouts. So just one of the many plays you can get from the Rhythm tool. It's a great tool. I'm really looking forward to building my NFL model this season, putting it to the test. Get your 7-day free trial today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And our buddy, man, the box pointing out, worst QB situation in the league, shaky O-line, stacked box, quarterback vulture, touchdowns, injury history. Yeah, I mean, I see the case against Jonathan Taylor. I'm calling my shot. I think the talent is there. And
I'm betting on the fact that I think the division's there's gonna be a lot of shootouts in that division, and I'm betting on the fact that I think they're a little worried about their quarterback.
that's
they're going to run their
angle.
quarterbacks, but I do think I'm not worried about the touchdown vulturing.
And speaking of the live chat, shout out to Justin. What's up, guys? Love your shows. Greetings from Germany.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, Germany Germany's getting an NFL game this year, right?
Yeah. Got one last year. Panthers Giants. Remember?
Yeah, there you go.
Why are you laughing?
Well, it was a great game.
You laughing at Germany?
That's probably how Justin found our show. He was like, "That was a great game. I want to find
Heinz.
Bye, Justin. What part of Germany are you from? I'm sure you enjoy some good football. Some
Guten
good.
Tag.
Yeah,
Is that German?
I think so.
Yeah.
Or at least German adjacent. Kramer, we are on your number 6 fantasy football running back. What do you got?
One of these beer speaking countries.
They have Steins wherever that is.
Ashton Shinty.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
probably not
7.
high enough.
Well, this again, I guess I'm like those NFL or old school college football coach, won't play freshman. I'm scared to put.
I'm not, because they do it all the time.
But no, I think let's look at Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson's rookie year could be Ashton Jeanty, right? 214 carries, 976 yards, 4 touchdowns.
He's going
4.6 yards per attempt.
I mean,
but everything that people are saying about Ashton Jeanty to hype him up is stuff they said about Bijan Robinson. And maybe I'm not completely fading him. I'm putting him at my number 7.
Here's what I would say though. Ashton Jeanty to me is more of an NFL back, like a traditional NFL back. He's big, he's bruising. He's also got, I mean, he's closer to Saquon Barkley than he is to Bijan Robinson in my mind. He's physical. He I don't know if you saw the pictures. He's clearly been lifting, Sean. He looks huge. And I think the biggest thing here though is that he's going into an offense that I have more confidence. We killed the Raiders for the Geno. Like Geno has a very low ceiling and a very high floor. I think they are going to be very clear and deliberate about what they are as an offense. It is Chip Kelly. I know you have some personal beefs with Chip Kelly, but I think Chip Kelly can be pretty predictable in terms of I think he's going to give volume to this running back.
Yeah.
I think he certainly had at least a comment about, hey, what do you think about drafting this guy? And I think when you think about what Pete Carroll ultimately learned in that Super Bowl experience with Russell Wilson, it's run the damn ball.
Oh, that's a great callback.
Run the damn ball. So yeah, if the Raiders are going to be one of my tertiary teams this year, Ashton Jeanty's a fun,
and to be
fun
clear,
player.
I'm not completely.
You know what? Swap Jeanty and we're going to do a late swap here. We're going to bump Jeanty ahead of Taylor.
Okay,
We'll swap.
so maybe the man in the box is getting to you.
A little bit.
You're making some solid points.
I just didn't. I like the alternating. Get a young guy between the two old guys.
Okay, you do like that.
Yeah.
Ashton Jeanty was my 7. So again, not a total fade, just not as the consensus rankings on Fantasy Pros has him in full point PPR as the number 4. So I'm not quite that high on him. Kramer, who is your number 7 fantasy football running back?
All right, number 7. Now, again, going through the data, I was somewhat surprised by a couple things. One of them was Josh Jacobs.
Yeah,
My God,
I thought I was going to be crazy putting him on my list.
Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson. That's the list of guys with 8 or more 20-point games last year.
Yeah.
You look at how the dud factor. He had 1 game south of 10 points last year. 1 game. And you think about that stretch he had where he was really crushing it. I think 6 straight 20-point games. It's again, I'm a hater of Jordan Love, but it's hard to say the offense isn't going to be functional. And yeah, no, he was the guy that he came out to number 4 on my new shiny metric ahead of Saquon Barkley. Again, very shocked there. And the other thing with Josh Jacobs, he had no games over 30 points. No games over 30 points. You look at the first basically 6 games of the season, getting acclimated with his new team. Once that happens, he becomes fantasy. I mean, he finishes fantasy running back number 6. If you only look at those last from week 7 on, he's fantasy running back 3. So again, he's an old guy. We are old guys at this point.
Pro old guys.
But Josh Jacobs, another guy that at ADP, I'm not drafting him enough. It's also a great way for me to not end up with Jordan Love. Just take the running back. I want to pull up his. Where do you think his ADP is in Underdog?
He's not the Underdog skews young, and
he's going early 3rd round.
Okay, that's actually higher than I thought. Honestly, after going through this exercise, I want to end up with like an early pick to take one of the stud receivers and then take running back in round 2 and 3. You haven't mentioned him yet, Ryan. I'm dropping him in here. Number 8 consensus, and that's actually right where I have him as well. Bucky Irving, coming off a great rookie year in the fantasy streets. And if you look at his yards per attempt, which I know isn't the most advanced metric, 4th in running backs. You got Derrick Henry at 5.9, Saquon 5.8 last year, Jamir Gibbs 5.6, Bucky Irving 5.4, and that he got 1,122 yards on only 207 carries. Could I see him get up to 250? Why not? Why wouldn't they involve Bucky Irving more in that offense? I think he's set up to succeed there in Tampa Bay. That offense should be good to go. I know they invested, in drafting a receiver, but I what's not to like about Bucky Irving and this Tampa Bay situation? Like, what am I missing?
So if I was the pros, I would say you can look at his game log from last year and see, like, once being a rookie, you look at those first 5 weeks, he had a number of his dud games. 3 of his 5 games sub 10 points happened in the first 5 weeks of the season. From that point on, he was quite good.
Yeah.
I'd say the floor, what held me back from Bucky Irving is the ceiling. I think he has a decent floor, number 14 overall running back last year.
Yeah. But I think, and again, with rookies or guys going in the second year, you can see a jump, and it's always going to be a projection. But like week 12, where we see the second half of the season, where rookies that are going to roll into the second year and kind of pick up where they left off, that's where you see it. 25 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown. Light passing work. He did get 47 catches, which again, higher than I would have guessed. Decent playoff game, 17 for 77 and a receiving touchdown. He had 3 of his 100-yard games after week 12. So that to me is like a good sign that he was transitioning into a bigger role. And it does seem, as much as I think Rachaad White still has some left in the tank, judging by their actions, it seems like they're kind of out on Rachaad White. Now we'll see how much of that was Liam Cohen, new offensive coordinator, could shake things up. But I think Bucky Irving's going to have a pretty good year. 8 sounds about right for me. Who's your number 8, Ryan?
Number 8, I have an offensive player of the year ticket on him.
Woo.
This one is of the guys we're going to talk about, probably the most homerish, or at least like I'm just shooting my shot because I'm drafting him a shitload. He's currently going in Underdog with the 34th pick. So I'm drafting him a ton in the 3rd round. Kyron Williams. This Rams team is going to be fucking good. There's no way the starting running back for the Rams should be going in the 3rd round. We've seen him put up touchdown numbers before.
Yeah.
And if I'm picking apart my own argument, didn't show off a great season, only 4 20-point games last year. Yeah, but only 1 game under 10 points, only 1 game missed. I think if you think the Rams are hitting, if you think Puka's a 1st round pick, it's surprised. Like, this offense is going to get inside the 5-yard line and run the ball with Kyron Williams. We've seen it. We know what McVay likes to do there, and McVay is strangely a guy with running back that's on vibes and trust. Look how fast Cam Akers got shipped out of town when things started going south there. He loves Kyron Williams. And so again, this one is also you look at my drafts. I'm drafting the shit out of them. And Kyron Williams, offensive player of the year, also
again,
80-1.
I'm not going to be that. I get he didn't make my top 10, and I guess to me some of the efficiency drop from 2023 to 2024 is a little concerning. The yards per attempt 5.0 back down to 4.1 yards per game, 95.3 to 81.2.
Offensive line is going to be better.
Yeah,
Devontae Adams makes the passing game better.
It's explainable. I'm just big on Puka Nacua, so it felt like it would be tough to make Nacua and Kyron both high. But to your point,
3rd round guy.
maybe Nacua gets you. Well, and part of my reason I have Puka Nacua as my number 1 fantasy football receiver is that I think he's going to be getting some of those red zone touchdowns. So I can't give my model won't allow me to give those to Kyron as well.
It's important to trust your model.
Yeah,
unless it's about Saquon Barkley.
Oh well, my model has exceptions, right? Josh Jacobs is my number 9. You laid out a good case for him. Yeah, he's just
strong.
It's funny, like Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft, I both really like fantasy wise because I feel like it's just such roulette sometimes with those receivers in that offense. But Josh Jacobs very consistent, and it's interesting since he went to only 36 catches, and he only had 37 the year before in the Raiders offense. But before that, he had back-to-back years with 53 and 54. If he could just get some of that receiving work back, that would be pretty big. And coming off a career high in touchdowns with 15, I don't think Jordan Love isn't a guy who's going to run into the end zone a ton off the top of my head. I feel like he's not much of a touchdown guy, and I'm trying to. Yeah, they're not gonna. He has like a clear path. Although Jordan Love randomly had 4 touchdowns in 2023, but for the most part, he's not. He has 5 career.
We're more worried if Malik Willis is out there.
Yeah, no, right? Certainly, I think so. But again, it is that thing of if they're running the read option with Malik Willis, it can create some opportunities for him. But yeah, Josh Jacobs. I mean, he's a guy again like. I don't know. Was he just under the radar? I feel like he's not getting talked about in fantasy at all. And yet he's coming off a career high in touchdowns, 4.4, very good yards per attempt, first year in Green Bay.
He's an old guy. I mean, the fantasy streets are littered with people that would rather, think about how disgusting it is to draft a running back. Although I will say running backs are going earlier this year. All right, so the next 2 here, it's a little bit of a cluster, and you already talked about one of the guys. I have Chase Brown ranked 1 spot ahead of him, and purely probably just because I like his role. I like my confidence in his role in the offense relative to everyone else, and that's Chase Brown. I think he's pretty clearly the 3rd option after the 2 big receivers. And I just liked what I saw last year. And so after him, then it is Bucky Irving, who you brought up. Same thing. I want to bet on the offense. Running back is a bet on the offense. I think these guys are the same thing because they're both could take a big step forward. I think you probably could argue that Bucky Irving has a slightly higher ceiling to me because, they do have some receivers who could be banged up or they're just getting inside the 5-yard line and he's getting a shitload of touches around the goal line. What worries me about Bucky Irving versus Chase Brown is I have more concern of him sharing carries than Chase Brown.
My number 10 fantasy football running back, Christian McCaffrey, Ryan.
Really?
Now this is because I have him only playing starting 12 games
and he still finishes top 10.
Yeah. But with 12 games.
Well, that's a compliment.
I think when he's going to be out there, he's going to be good. He got these stem cell injections. He got his blood spun in Germany. Shout out to our German listener from Dusseldorf. Maybe he helped out with Christian McCaffrey. And this is the thing, like when Christian McCaffrey has these low score seasons, he comes back usually and has a decent 2022. The Panthers, he only played 6 games or no, sorry. That was combined with the 16. I think he comes back and has a pretty good season. 12 games is what I'm predicting. He's not going to stay healthy the entire season.
I think
it really is on the health.
You can make the case that you can say number 1. I think you could say, well, like they lost some stuff. He's going to pick up the Debo gadget stuff. He could have incredible volume. My problem is that he was close to retirement last year due to, like, according to some reports.
Yeah,
he was he's frequently heading over to Germany to get.
This
some
is
work
why
done.
Christian McCaffrey.
I'm out for the same reason. I'm not. Barkley didn't make my top 10.
Oh wow, you're finally letting us know.
McCaffrey didn't. Well, I gave out 10 spots.
No, you're on your 10 now.
No. What do you mean? Bucky Irving's 10. Chase Brown was number 9.
Oh, Chase Brown was 9.
Yeah, we were talking about them together because they're the same player to me. I think they're both in a great offense, and they both, if they end up getting the bell cow share of the work, at least enough of the share, they're gonna find themselves both in the top 10.
Brian, who just missed your list?
So I'm not gonna use these spots for Barkley and McCaffrey because I'm just not drafting them this year.
Wow.
Oh my God.
That shouldn't be the hottest take.
Okay.
I mean, I see no reason to take a guy in the first round that I'm fairly confident is going to miss minimum 25% of the season. Minimum. And you highlighted a great projection on McCaffrey. Do you want to share with the audience what your model spit out for Barkley this year? How many games?
15.
15.
Yeah.
So misses 2 games.
Well,
or gets rested.
One, they're rested.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This feels like a cop out. Omari.
So you asked me how many games, and I told you 15.
Yeah, but he's only going to miss 1 because of injury. I feel like something happened with your inputs.
I can't tell you
we
why.
Check
I
the inputs.
don't know why they're going to miss. I can just tell you he's going to start 15 games.
Okay, so first guy that misses, because I'm getting very interested in drafting this guy, is Omari and Hampton.
Oh.
I think Najee Harris is going to have a much smaller workload than I had originally anticipated.
Well,
he's getting paid almost no money by the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, when they brought him in, I was like, oh, okay. But then when we found out that his contract was only $5 million, that was a bit of a red flag. And you have the Greg Roman offense.
Oh,
but Ryan, I'm tainted by these Chargers fans who Justin Herbert's the greatest thing to slice bread. Why would they need to waste? Why, if you have an amazing quarterback, wouldn't you draft a receiver? They have no receivers, according to Chargers fans. Why would you draft a running back when you have the greatest quarterback in the NFL? That doesn't really make a ton of sense.
I think he's set
and you
up
have
for
no
a great
receivers.
Year. I think because of Justin Herbert's ability to throw the ball down the field, Omari and Hampton's very interesting this year. By the way, Najee Harris 1.5 guaranteed only.
It's only
it's a total of 5.2.
The 5.2 is not guaranteed.
No, he has to play. He has to play for the rest of the money.
Okay.
Guaranteed salary 1.5 million. Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right. It's written out weird. Maybe the whole thing's guaranteed. No, he has to earn the rest of it. Oh man. Yeah. They don't really care about Najee Harris at all. My other guy, and again, not going to put Cam Scattermoo in here, although I cannot wait to see Cam Scattermoo in the preseason. I think we have to at least give an honorable mention to James Cook here, because when he comes back, he's going to be.
He's holding in, so he's like still there.
And my latest gut guess is that he's back week 1, week 1.
Yeah, I don't think he's missing any games.
No, but I do think he's going to hold out all of camp.
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, because he was doing the voluntary stuff.
I don't know though.
I think he already realized his position's cooked.
Maybe
it's a guess.
Nah, that was good. His position's cooked.
Yeah.
Was that intentional?
A little bit. Okay. My 11, Kyron Williams. You laid out a great case for him. I don't know. I just couldn't put him in the top 10 because how high I expect Puka's touchdowns to be, and then Joe Mixon. I know you're completely off on the Texans, but Joe Mixon, Ryan, still a reliable.
I like
weapon.
Mixon. I mean, this is one of those conversations where Mixon's being drafted at 56 overall. I mean, I can. If
what is that? What is it? What is his running back?
What does that put him? Probably about 20.
Yeah, I mean, Fantasy Pros.
It puts him around.
Fantasy Pros has him as the 18th running back. To me, that's low.
So here are the underdog ADP. You got Kenneth Walker, then Joe Mixon, then Alvin Kamara. So that's in amongst those guys, that's very clearly Joe Mixon to me.
Yeah.
Chuba Hubbard, I'd probably take Mixon over Hubbard, and then Omari and Hampton, who I think I like a little bit better. But I mean, these are all like 5th, 6th round running backs.
Smash!
Which again, generally that's a bad zone to take the running back. You know, we find that the rounds 3 to 5, the dead zone, the dead zone running backs this year are like Kyron, Breece Hall, James Cook, Omari and Hampton, Chuba Hubbard, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, RJ Harvey, Trevion Henderson, James Conner.
Breece Hall, I don't want any part of, and I've realized the only Jets guy I want is Justin Fields.
Naked Justin Fields.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Raw dog it.
Oh, well, I mean, I was just saying naked. There doesn't have to be physical contact.
Oh, why not?
So you're not taking Garrett Wilson. You're not taking Breece Hall. You're drafting Braylon Allen late.
Yeah.
Favorite backup running backs.
Not even. I'm not even that intrigued by Braylon Allen because I think Breece Hall is good enough, but like not so good. And Justin Fields is the only guy that's really interesting.
Who are your favorite like backup running backs that you like drafting better than the starters right now?
I mean, Ray Davis, I do like just because he's a dog as far as running, and I know James Cook.
Yeah, he's available
I know,
so late too.
Yeah, I know James Cook, the situation, etc. I always like, going back to the Seahawks. I mean,
Charbonnet.
I'm gonna be a Charbonnet fan.
He's one of the most expensive RB2s.
Yeah. I guess the secret's out on Charbonnet.
Most expensive RB2 on a team is David Montgomery, obviously.
Yeah.
After that, you have let's see, Scattaboo, Jalen Warren.
I mean, Ryan, I like Cam Scattaboo, but him and Tyrone Tracy just are gonna kill each other's fantasy value.
It will be interesting. I'm starting to believe that Cam Scattaboo potentially has a higher ceiling. They seem to very much like him in the passing game.
No, and if Tyrone Tracy's not going to be playing, sure.
No, that's why they're both being drafted in like the 9th, 10th round. After Warren and the Giants, you have Najee Harris and then Zach Charbonnet, as you mentioned, and so very interesting. And Ramondre Stevenson has now entered that RB2 because I think Trevion Henderson's ahead of him. But I like Trey Benson to throw in the mix for those types of running backs out there in Arizona. We didn't talk about James Conner, but there's certainly some injury stuff there. Isaac Garendra out in San Francisco again. I think you want to grab the backups from McCaffrey and Barkley. Sean, who would hypothetically the listener wants to grab the Barkley handcuff?
Yeah.
Who is that this year? We know that Boston Scott's been gone for a couple of years. Kenneth Gainwell has moved on to greener pastures. Is it AJ Dillon?
No.
He kind of sucked for a while in Green Bay. It's hard to imagine he'll be.
Someone described him as the guy with the piano on his back.
He's like the Saquon Barkley stunt double, who is just not as athletic because that's why he's a stunt double.
Will Shipley looked very good in limited time, and I know they're very high on him.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, if for whatever reason the Eagles are resting their starters.
No, but but like a handcuff situation.
Will Shipley. I don't know how he didn't get in the end zone. He got close there, but he looked pretty good. Again, extremely limited sample size, but eye test, and I know they do like him. So Will Shipley's role as the number 2 running back for the Eagles, not going anywhere.
There's do you have any comments on the running back at Central Arkansas that's currently on the Eagles roster, Derrick Powell? It's a wild name.
No.
Derrick, SHUN capital DERRICK.
No.
Okay. Not going to make the team.
Probably not. I mean, our lads doesn't have him on.
Oh yeah, he does.
Oh, they do? They have him on there?
Oh yeah. In the like extra spots in the to the right and below.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. I don't even think he makes the practice squad.
Yeah.
And I know our lads has Will Shipley as the third. I think he's pretty much the two. I'd be surprised if he's not the two. And AJ Dillon, eye test. I mean, he's fine as like a veteran guy that maybe a body that we need, but the fact that
he's not good.
No.
Does he make the team?
I'm not excited about AJ Dillon. I think so because I think they'll keep 3 running backs. Now maybe one of these other random undrafted free agents pop, but
I feel like there's going to be better I feel like there's probably better current free agents than. Oh wow, they're not paying AJ Dillon anything.
Yeah, he is not. He's not secured. He is not locked in as a roster. So
yeah, definitely.
Maybe he makes the team. Maybe not. We'll see. All right. Hey, good times, everyone. Appreciate you tuning in. Smash that subscribe button. Kramer and I are going to be off the grid coming. Well, we're going to Vegas. Man the Box join us. Going to be fun.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll be on the grid for a little bit.
Yes.
Vegas for a couple days, July 3rd/4th.
Yep. And July 3rd live 4th of July Eve VSiN show 11:00 East. Sure we'll get our buddy CJ in studio. Some other friends of the program walking around circuit, get them in there. It'll be a fun show breaking down the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
Oh yeah.
And then we have we'll be hitting you guys with a bunch of college football conference previews that we taped with our good buddy Colby Dance. So a lot of fun we get into. I mean, I'm excited the audience gets to view these Kramer because we were doing our daily live show and then knocking out 2 or 3 other shows. And
so here's what
it feels like I'm keeping a secret from the audience because there were some really funny moments, of course, as you'd expect, and some fun angles too. A couple teams are really high on. Always good times, and of course, check it out. So we got Big 12 and ACC will be the week of July 4th, and then after that you got Mountain West, Sun Belt. We did a Pac-2 and Independence preview, Sean. Oh yeah, that one went really long considering we talked about 4 teams. We broke down the MAC and the American, and we finished it up with some Conference USA talk, and then we will be back Tuesday the 15th for some British Open talk. And actually, Monday the 14th, we're running a special free preview of the SGP Stories podcast. Yes, Colby versus the Rose Bowl.
Which the Patreon, if you're on the Patreon, you will have in your inbox Monday morning. But yeah, for everyone else, if you're on the fence, check out the preview on Monday the 14th. We're putting out Colby versus the Rose Bowl. Highly recommend you tune in. Colby was still. I don't want to say
he got really fired up just remembering the episode.
I don't want to say Colby's like someone who committed a crime and still doesn't want to admit guilt to the crime.
Yeah,
but
he's still looking for the real killers, much like OJ.
He still the gap between what happened in reality and what Colby perceived.
If you expected Colby to be, hey, turns out I was in the wrong, you're in for a rude awakening. And there's a bunch of great photos. So the Stories episode's super fun. Great reason to subscribe to the Patreon, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And of course, as always,
thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
For Sports Gambling Podcast, I'm Sean, second the money green. He's Ryan.
See you on the way back, Sean.
Kramer, let it ride.